Hi, my name is Jason Pinter. I'm the publisher of Polis Books and the proud publisher of Saint Mick by this man right here, Mick Foley. Thanks everybody for being patient with us through some technical difficulties. But we're here to talk Saint Mick, and I want to turn it over to the man himself and just start off by asking Mick. This is a sort of a holiday memoir. Mick is a lifelong Christmas lover. So, Mick, what inspired you to write this book?
Hello. That's my tribute to Flounder on Animal House. So I go outside. I realized we came on and I had the glasses on, right? We had a little bit of technical difficulty.
You need the bow tie.
Yeah, but I was like, I had to, now I'm compensating. What possessed me to write it?
Inspired,
Inspired
possessed.
me? Jason, and for the people listening out there, we're going to find a way to turn this wrestling-centric, right? Like, I know this is an odd choice for a memoir. There is wrestling in here. It's not a wrestling book. There is wrestling. I had a chance. I just went through the 240 pages, 60 different references, a couple complete chapters of wrestling. But I had this, I thought, kind of a wonderful, at the time it was a 5-year journey. And, we talk in literature and WWE and television movies about story arcs. And I find that sometimes when you look at somebody's writings, they're looking back at a very long career and they're trying to find moments from that career that define their career. And I don't think you ever feel like you're in the moment with that person. And I thought that this thing offered like a 5-year arc where there were definite lessons learned. Mm-hmm. And I was on the threshold. I was at a crossroads because I didn't know if I was going to be doing this anymore. At the time I was a general manager of Raw. Mm-hmm. And looking back on it now, I'm like, how could Mr. McMahon not have asked me to shave that beard? It looked ridiculous. Especially when I was doing double duty as Santa's ambassador with the white beard and then taking on a mountain of temporary dark hair mousse. And I just looked ridiculous. So there was always a chance that if Mr. McMahon said, "Hey pal, I know what this means to you, but I've got a show to run," that I would have had to curtail those activities. And so I really wanted to write this book when I was at that crossroads, and was very, very happy with the result.
Speaking of Mr. McMahon, there's a great story in the book about when you asked Mr. McMahon, I think, how you wanted to come out on stage, right?
What is
how you want to be introduced?
You mean at
in the book,
the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
I might as well go to the reading of this, right? Let me see if that was one of those things. I know it sounds strange. What's he going to do on this thing? He's going to read.
Yeah, and we're going to get to. We have a ton of questions who've come in from people who have ordered the book, and we're actually going to take a phone call from one of Mick's fans.
Yes, and we're going to be answering things. Mm-hmm. While I look for this, I was dog-earing all kinds of things, and I don't think I can find it right now, Jason. But I'll tell you. But I'll tell from memory. It was me going up to Mr. McMahon, and keep in mind that I had left under less than ideal circumstances, which I believed included this finger in his face saying, "I don't care who you are, what you're worth, you will never talk to me that way again. Never, you understand me? Never." Terrified. A couple of the women who were backstage, Layla to this day thinks I'm the meanest person she's ever seen because she saw me right in Mr. McMahon's face. So like 3 years later, that same finger was like dialing the phone, going, "Hey, can I come back?" And so when I came back, I didn't have the same level of mojo. So when I asked him for a meeting, I wasn't with the confidence I used to have, and I just said, "Mr. McMahon, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but in all my career, I never really had any kind of exit or special entrance. I never had any pyrotechnics." "Okay, pal, what are you thinking?" I said, "When I finish my Hall of Fame speech, I'd like to fly into the sky on a sleigh with Santa Claus." And he just looked at me and went, "Why the hell would I want to do that?" And I write in the book that it reminded me so much of when I was 8 years old and lost my yoo-hoo on a class field trip, and that thing where you start doing the. I went, "Because I love Santa." And needless to say, if anyone saw the Hall of Fame, induction. I did not fly away into the sky. He actually said he didn't think they had the technical ability, and I knew they did. I knew they did because I was standing on a mound of dirt in Indianapolis in 1996, and I saw a bolt of lightning come down from the scoreboard and hit the earth not 10 feet from where I stood. Like,
you're saying the bolt of lightning was not a natural occurrence.
I'm saying that they could make a bolt of lightning come down from a scoreboard in Indianapolis in 1996. They could find a way to have me fly into the sky on a sleigh with Santa in 2013 in the biggest city in the country. Cool. Not bitter about it or anything.
Do you want to read a passage from the book?
Oh yeah, let me see. This is you know
and
what?
Then we'll answer. Then we'll I think take some questions and.
Yeah, I haven't done a book tour in a while. You know, did a little book tour. Clearly, the most miserable Christmas is different than this. So I'm talking about the December 12th version of Raw, where Santa is run over by Alberto Del Rio's BMW. All right, so say, let me point out now that through the magic of editing and sound effects, Del Rio's vehicle would not actually be moving at all when I made contact with it. I was simply going to walk into a parked vehicle and rely on WWE's post-production wizards to create the sounds of screeching brakes and the thud of a human body hitting a BMW, tumbling over the hood, and landing hard on concrete. The sound effect wizards did a wonderful job with the screeching of the brakes. However, as it turned out, there was no need to edit the thud of a human body hitting BMW, tumbling over the hood, and landing hard on the concrete. I did that pretty well on my own. While it's technically true that I did walk into a parked car, I walked into it as hard as I could, rolled over the hood, and landed with a thud on the concrete floor. So I actually saved the editor of 2 thud sounds. I'm proud to say I did $800 worth of damage to that BMW, and the crowd went mild. Remember, the live audience had just seen a human being walk into a parked car. Not the most impressive sight in the world. The incident would later look amazing when it aired on Raw, but the live reaction the live crowd reacted pretty much the way you would think they would react upon seeing a man walk into a parked car. But then, a large Christmas tree tipped over and landed on my head, opening up a genuine small laceration on my face. The whole crowd seemed to sense immediately that Monday Night Raw was the only place you could see Santa run down by a BMW, and they let Del Rio have it when he stepped out of the car with loud chants of, "You killed Santa." While Del Rio is clearly shaken up, his sidekick and personal ring announcer, Ricardo Rodriguez, is downright distraught. The poor guy is absolutely brilliant in his poignantly painted portrait of pain. Try thinking Meryl Streep in Sophie's Choice level of emotional pain, but somehow funny. That's not an easy trick to pull off, but Ricardo is somehow doing it. Weeping, wailing, whimpering, expressing distress to the point of dry heaving in his sorrow. This is Brad Pitt finding Gwyneth Paltrow's head in a box type of sorrow. And just thinking, it's pretty good, right? Okay, good. Just thinking about that empty space on Ricardo's mantle where an Emmy so rightfully should stand still hurts me to this day.
And not only is that a great story, but if you buy a copy of St. Mick, there is a great photo spread.
Oh, the 2-page photo spread.
There's a 2-page photo spread of that exact moment of Mick as Santa Claus down for the count, with Del Rio and Ricardo Rodriguez distraught, standing over him in a great what have we done moment.
The 2-page spread I insisted on.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
For those of you know, this is my 5th memoir. I joked after I read the 4th one, there's a reason why Winston Churchill stopped at 3. Clearly, I think the world had heard enough of what I had to say, but I was like, I had to write this book. But on the first book, WWE had all the say in the photos, and while I loved the book, I'm like, but you're showing me as Mankind on page 27 when I don't become Mankind at like page 530. So for these you don't know, Jason is not just the host here. He is the publisher of Polish Books. He was my editor and the publicist. That never gets done. That never gets done. In the past, I've always been on some arm of like a publishing arm of a huge corporation.
I figure like you have 3 faces of Foley, you need 3 faces of publishing.
Yeah,
too,
so we worked. Could not have been closer, and like all the photos were,
I spent a tremendous amount of time working hand in hand with Mick, and I'd read his other books, and obviously been had seen his career over the years, but to work so closely with an author on his book, I mean, literally sitting at your kitchen table editing it, and to see how it came out is pretty fantastic. So if you want to sign a couple books,
and you can have vouch that when it comes to this stuff, I take it serious.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
You'll get the phone call. I'm like, I just believe that maybe we should remove the apostrophe.
Oh yeah,
they are stresses more importance.
And if you go to Mick's Facebook page, you'll find a great photo. Mick had a hip replacement surgery over the summer, and he was editing the book in his hospital bed. I'd edited the book and sent him over my edits, and I figured I knew he was having surgery, and I think I might have even said, like, once you're sort of back on your feet, we can talk. And I think you texted me or emailed me a picture of you, and it's literally, I think your daughter had taken a picture of you in bed with the manuscript printed out with glasses on going over, and I was like, I've literally never seen an author in a hospital bed editing their manuscript. So the dedication to this book went above and beyond.
Let me tell you something. Chris Jericho did not write his book in a hospital bed, all right? I love Chris, but there was no writing in a hospital bed in Jericho. That's not his level of commitment.
We're gonna have to at Chris Jericho on Twitter and let him know we're starting up a book feud.
Chris referenced me many times in his either his first or second book, pointing out that I had never actually defeated him in my career.
And here's another funny story, because 6 Weeks of Separation, I actually was the original editor on Chris Jericho's very first book.
Ooh,
I was,
no kidding.
When I was an editor at Warner Books, and I acquired Lion's Tale. This was probably 10 years ago, give or take.
I don't think we're here to talk about Chris Jericho.
That's very true. Well, it's interesting that I ended up, and now 10 years later, I'm working with you. So I'm making a career out of working on wrestlers and their books. So.
But Jason will say something like, this reference when you say, I had gone from Raw, maybe it'll be a good time to segue into a second reading. Because after that magnificent, let me just quote Booker T. This is me at Santa's cottage in Santa Claus, Indiana, under the belief that I can have more holiday spirit on the page if I'm in places where holiday spirit lives year round. So I'm at Santa Claus, Indiana, at Santa's cottage, and I don't have internet in the room. So I'm going from memory, but I'm so sure I have it. So I say, I'm not quoting, someone can go back and look, but this is I was worried because Santa had been run over, and even though it was my first year as an ambassador, I didn't know if that was the best scenario for the children. And I was worried about how it would be handled. And it wasn't until Booker T walked out after checking on Santa, and he gave this speech to the locker room that was gathered around, and I could quote it from memory. I go, all right, I didn't know, but I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Santa's down, and it don't look good. But before Santa lost consciousness, his last words to me were, now if you're guessing out there, the last words would probably be, deliver the toys. Make sure none of the children are forgotten. Instead, Booker went with, Alberto Del Rio will be in a fight tonight. A Miracle on 34th Street fight. And that's where Del Rio comes in. Alberto Del Rio arrives to, of course, booze. He's still distraught, but is attempting to play the blame game. What happened to Santa Claus was an accident. But everyone knows where I drive my car, so technically, it was not my fault. John Cena steps forth and hits Del Rio with some of the most blatant overacting this side of vintage Attitude Era. Big gulp of fear, Vince McMahon, because Mr. McMahon in his portrayal of fear. HD was just coming in. There was still the idea you're playing to everyone in the crowd. So it would not be a subtle opening of an eye. It would be this. It would be, and he had that huge Adam's apple. It was great. So this is actually a compliment, and I'm also going to rationalize why. I'm not here to start a feud with John Cena at all. Given John's strong following with younger members of the WWE Universe, he probably plays this with a little less subtlety. Actually, without even the slightest hint of subtlety than usual, as a way of letting his fan base know that it's not quite as bad as it looks. Understandable, but even in retrospect, his statement that St. Nicholas is a saint is a little over the top and up there with Gerald Briscoe informing a WWE audience that the best way to describe Big John Studd is big. As a great case of stating the obvious. There you go. But I show up in 2013, and I think I'm going to do like a similar role. And then they put me on, I'm told I'm on, I think, oh, we have something for you on Superstars. Okay, so this is where I give the little the Jericho push, because I believe at one point you go, I don't think anyone's going to understand that. And I said, Chris Jericho will. So there are things in there that are just for one person. So I showed up in full regalia, ready for action, and made my way into the writer's room, eager to see what festivities they had lined up for me that night. While I doubted we could top the drama and passion of the previous year's high-speed Del Rio rundown and near miraculous return of Santa Claus, I had no doubt that the talented writing team had something tip-top on tap for me that evening. You're on Superstars, they told me. Superstars? Superstars? Superstars was the Jabroni Show, the B Show, the sending talent a signal that they are on their way out show. It was the Dipper needed your locker, so we bagged your gear and put it on Skid Row show. Original Rocky reference. Returning WWE Hall of Famers didn't show up on Superstars. Why, just imagine the can of Ash Whip, a subtle evergreen fragrance, Stone Cold Steve Austin would open if he spent 4 days in Texas with the, never mind, probably not the best example, as Steve is from Texas. Okay, could you imagine the super kick Shawn Michaels would catch you with if you sent him to Texas for 4 days? What's that you say? Shawn is another Texas guy and would likely enjoy those 4 days? Never mind. Superstars was like the Sprout to Raw's Green Giant, like the Frog Hopper to Raw's Tower of Terror, like Spinal Tap's Freeform Jazz Odyssey to Raw's Puppet Show. That one's for you, Jericho. There you go.
Okay, now I want to get through some. We have a whole bunch of
questions, and there's some good ones. I've only heard a couple of them.
Yeah, no, and we have in true Mick fashion, we have literally dozens and dozens of questions from fans. So let's try to get to a couple of them. This one is from Tim in Lincoln Park, Michigan. Tim, thanks for submitting. And Tim's
I was just in Michigan last night, Tim.
Maybe you met. So Tim's question is, what's a better use of a table? Going through from the top rope or setting up for Christmas dinner?
Why not do both? Why not have a family Christmas dinner followed by table breaking? It's funny when you see a table in a ring, you know that table's getting, or a birthday cake. I think the birthday cake face ratio is even higher than the table thing. Once in a while, we won't break a table just to show, just to be the exception to the rule. But yeah, if a table shows up for us live sign, this is the first live signing where nobody's going through this table.
So even if a table set with like a Christmas ham on there, it's still in jeopardy.
Yeah, during that 2012 brawl, the only negative fallout from that was that I had this beautiful burgundy Santa suit that was made for me from Pierre's of Philadelphia, and they made it because it was going to be used in the documentary I Am Santa Claus, and they had the wild brawl. I said it wasn't exactly Patterson's Slaughter street fight type of intensity. It was the pumpkin pies, the presents, and I did get some pumpkin pie on my beautiful burgundy suit.
Okay, we got another one. This one is from Robert in Ocean City, New Jersey. Robert asks, if you could face any wrestler in a Christmas match, who would it be?
Christmas match? Jeez. Let me think of another well-known love for... Christmas matches offer alternatives, right? You can have a fun match without that. So possibly I could come back for a fun match. Like if there was someone who was trying to disparage a good name of Santa, I did that with JBL in Afghanistan, and as grateful as the troops were to have us out there spending time, even those guys were like, geez, that match wasn't very good. So let's just say for the sake, Al Snow was part of my he's actually mentioned in the book a few times. The love of Christmas, I theorized, came in part because I was on the road so much and away from my children when I was with WWE, and then so extending the holidays, starting the anticipation earlier, and then talking about our yearly visit to Santa's Village in New Hampshire for months at a time was a way to kind of ease some of the loneliness of being away for so long. I even remember putting Al on the phone with Noel like 4 months before we went, and said, Noelle, where are you going in 4 months? And the phone was kind of quiet, and she went, Santa, where which? So I'd take Al Snow on in a Christmas match.
I think that's a long time coming, that match.
Yeah.
Okay, this one is from Shannon in Spring Hill, Florida. Shannon asks, if you could have dinner with anyone in the world, living or dead, who would you choose and where would you go for that dinner?
These are deep philosophical questions.
Well, I mean, it's an important book. I mean,
yeah, it is important. You know, I was always touched by the kindness of Dolly Parton, and I would like to meet Dolly Parton, meal or no meal included. That's probably not the answer people are looking for. That's the one I'm going with.
Okay, let's go to...
Now, interesting fact here. My two favorite country artists growing up, my dad listened to country music on Long Island, right? So it made me an outcast. When everyone else was going around in music class naming, at that time, 5th grade, it was Bay City Rollers, Osmonds, Jacksons, and they came to me and I said, Charlie Pride. And I just got stared at. So I was a country music fan. Loved Dolly Parton and Waylon Jennings, and later went on to do a record with Waylon's son Shooter. He did the music and the sound effects for Crazy Christmas, which is the book that my son Huey had written when he was 9 years old. So I did a little project, a little country credential here.
Okay, this question is really, you're talking about deep philosophical questions, so this one gets right to the heart of that. This is from Casey in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. Casey asks, do you think you could ride one of Santa's reindeer, or do you think they're strictly for pulling?
Well, it's a proven fact that the reindeer have been ridden solo. Like Mrs. Claus did it in A Year Without a Santa Claus. So I'm embarrassed for you for asking a question that has such a clear answer.
I'm very much ashamed.
One of the things I do when I take on this ambassadorial role is I create my own North Pole, and I really, like when I'm talking to children, you try to bring them in and make that place come alive. And so you borrow from some of the classics, and then some of the you create some of those own things. And if you get in there and you really connect with the child, man, they're just beaming, So you have to be on your toes. So actually, I think I'm getting a sense that I may be overdoing the answer to this one question. And I'm sensing that this is not what people tune in to see. So I'll give you the brief answer.
Okay, here's one more. This is from Cliff in Las Vegas, Nevada. Hope that Cliff and everyone there is safe. And he sort of answers his own question, but I just want to hear Mick's opinion. Would Santa Claus's finisher be called the chimney drop?
It's actually a ride at Santa's Village, so it's already taken. Yeah, sorry. It's basically a frog hopper with a Christmas theme. Hello, just want to make sure it's not an emergency. Yeah. Great. All right. Yes, we're going to try to flag them. All right, thanks. Doing a live worldwide signing right now, so I can't talk much. Thanks. Bye. Okay. All right, thank you. Bye. Sorry about that. I didn't know it could have been an emergency.
Okay. This is from John in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And
Let me do my impression of a guy who thinks he hates WWE, right? Oh, WWE. I would never go back to Vince McMahon. He kissed my, what's that, a 203 area code? Hello?
So John in Fort Wayne, Indiana asks, what was your favorite Christmas and why?
It was really a magical Christmas in 2012. It's one of my favorite chapters, not only I wrote for this book, but that any book. We'd had a bad Christmas in 2011, and really wanted to make it magical. So it was magical not only because it was the first year that I became an ambassador, but we had an amazing Christmas Eve. Just a wonderful Christmas Eve, and it was that. I think, let me see as I look through here. I know I flagged it, not for this one, because I didn't think it was, I didn't know if it was a wrestling centric enough, but I said, let me go to, keep talking, Jason. I'll let you know when I'm here.
Okay, so we're going to wait for Mick to find that segment, and then we're actually going to take a live phone call from Nate in New Jersey.
So this is me talking about in the aftermath of the visit we take family photos. And Jesse and Derek, there were two guys from the crew of I Am Santa Claus who were there just to shoot it because they wanted to be there. One guy said, "Dude, like I don't see my daughter till the day after Christmas. I can go hang out with the camera if I want." And the other guy goes, "Man, I don't have a family." So I had these two cameramen there just in case we found Santa, which we did. I said, while we take family photos, Jesse and Derek are shooting footage of the Foley photo session. And the smiles are so big, so full of warmth and genuine joy. Of all the Foley smiles, perhaps no smile is bigger than my own. I look at that footage and I really wonder if I've ever been quite that happy in my life. We had no idea this footage would be part of the movie, but I'm glad it is, for it is only later, much later, with the benefit of hindsight and a confluence of unlikely factors, that I will be able to identify the warmth and joy and the smile on my face as something I may be able to create for others, that I just might be able to provide Santa moments for others. And that goes on to be a big part of the latter part.
And that is a perfect segue, actually, talking about creating Santa moments. We're actually going to take a live phone call from a fan. We're going to talk, Mick's going to talk to Nate from New Jersey.
And I would love to take a live drink of water if we had one right there. Go ahead, Nate.
How's everybody going? Good to talk to you, Mick.
Why,
I'm a little nervous right now.
I could tell your last sentence was not structurally correct. Jason Pinter would have edited, he would have his red pen out and edited that up. It's okay, and you know why I know? Because my wife reminds me of my reaction to meeting Olivia Newton-John several years ago when the #1 New York Times bestselling author could not string more than 3 or 4 words together. So hey, man, I know it's like, I'm not putting myself on her level, but I'm just saying it's not unusual to be nervous. And Tom Jones said it's not unusual to be loved by someone. Okay, go ahead.
So my question to you was, if you could have dinner with any one of your personalities, who would it be?
Oh, okay, that's interesting. If I could have dinner with... There was a great, we did a great photo shoot for the insert of the For All Mankind DVD, where all the characters were hanging out together, and so I suggested, well, what if they said it was a table for 5? It's too bad you don't have a 5th character. I was like, I believe I do have a 5th character. So we see Santa, and it wasn't until the thing came out that I realized how wide I was at certain parts of my body. And I asked the question for which the answer was already known. I said, did you guys edit that to make me look bigger? Like, no. Yeah, so Santa was wide. You know what? I know this is a Santa book, right? I believe that Santa could, he could mellow Cactus Jack out a little bit. Does that make sense?
It certainly does make sense.
And one of the things that I realized towards the end of this book was, we say that wrestling characters, the ones that work best, are an extension of ourselves. And, I tried, to put as much authenticity in my characters as I could, but they really required me to be like meaner and tougher, and in a lot of cases, like far more aggressive. Because I was not the classic alpha male of the dressing room, but I had to be able to hang with those guys who were physically much more impressive than I was. And so I had to learn that, and it was hard work. Whereas being an ambassador for Santa requires me to be like nicer and wiser and gentler and like a little bit closer to who I would at least like to be. And so I think if Santa had dinner with Cactus Jack, he could, especially if we go into his past and warn him about some of the ramifications.
Santa as a psychotherapist, maybe.
Well, Santa would be like, hey man, you better watch it or I'm going to be walking with a new hip and a new knee, So a little message out there, a little tip of the hat to all the veterans who warned me about the stuff I was doing when I was young and said there'd be a price to pay for it. They were correct. So yeah, so maybe some type of warning, because like a Scrooge meeting Marley type of warning. Does that sound okay?
That's a great answer, honestly.
All right, yeah, it's made up on the fly. I think it went pretty well. Thank you very much. So much better than, hey, do you think Roman Reigns is getting too big of a push? So that's a good question. Thanks.
Well, my thought process behind it was simply just, what should I ask Mick Foley? But rather, what would Mick Foley ask Mick Foley?
Ooh. What
That's
you
deep.
do is you find out, if you want to talk to celebrities, find out what they've done that they did not feel was completely appreciated and ask them about it, and you will have a new best friend. Okay? So, case in point, one of the cool things when you do these conventions is like the dinner after the convention, and you got this there's two wrestlers, there's maybe a couple of a Playboy model, two people who were in a sitcom, and in this case, one of the guests was Catherine Bach from Dukes of Hazzard. And I asked her about that. I said, she had hundreds of people lined the whole day. And I said, is there anything you did that you really loved, that you wish people would ask you about? So she told me about the show African Sky she did with Robert Mitchum. And she really went into it about why she loved it so much, how proud of it she was. And I said, did anyone ask you? She said, look, I know who I am. And I'm fine with it. I said, but it would have been nice. She goes, yes, it would have been nice. So don't be the. I guess that's like saying don't be the guy who comes to me and goes, "Did it hurt?" Because then you have to kind of robot your way through that. But if you can find something that somebody did in their career that they're really proud of, didn't get talked about it much, you will have a new best friend.
Thank you very much.
All
for the
right.
advice, Nick.
Thank you. You end up doing really well. You rebounded much better than I did. I never really redeemed myself in the Olivia Newton-John scandal. All right.
But it's great talking to the hardcore legend and one host of Robot Wars.
I was. Thank you.
Thanks, Nate.
Have a nice day, Nick.
Have a nice day. Thank you.
Bye.
To Secretary Tillerson. Who knew he was a fan?
We're going to sign copies for the whole cabinet now.
Well, when I was in England, I had a novel out, and after I did a signing, the publisher, we had two special requests, and it was Daniel Radcliffe and Bill Clinton.
Really?
Yeah, so Daniel was a big fan. Bill was intrigued because my publisher was leaving a signing from Secretary Clinton to go to my book signing, and he asked, he's a people person, Bill, whether you agree with him politically or not, although I believe in hindsight, he may have been underappreciated. Just putting it out there. Maybe we didn't appreciate what we had until it was gone. And he was really intrigued. And then when I met him at a book signing, I didn't get to cut the line or anything, Secret Service everywhere. But I'll tell you this, he connects with people, and it made a big impression on me because he makes those seconds he's with people feel like there's no place he'd rather be. And I mentioned something about we had the same publisher, and so there's a photo side by side in the Alfred A. Knopf. Am I allowed to Polish?
Oh yeah,
Knopf,
absolutely.
they're
Yeah,
not feuding. And it's basically me with four of the guys in the mailroom, like this, and then it's Bill Clinton and the same four guys, and he looks much happier to be in the photo than I do. I'm like, I need to up my game. So between Bill Clinton, Tori Amos, and the personal interaction she had with me, and watching Henry Winkler, the Fonz, interact with fans, I went, I need to work on my people skills. So, yeah, you try to learn from everybody. I have no idea. I just randomly mentioned a lie about Secretary Tillerson, who in no way or shape or form has given any indication to us that he's interested in reading this.
Yeah, right? I mean, there is a Rex from Washington D.C.
It's got to be him.
That's gotta be him. I do have one more question along those. 1 second. I wanted to get to this one. This is from Richard.
How are we doing? I'm asking our people who do this all the time.
You're good, and we're live on Facebook.
Oh, we're live on Facebook.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Sorry for the technical difficulties.
So this question is from Richard in Haltom City, Texas. Did The Walking Dead get permission to use Lucille? Lucille, if you don't watch The Walking Dead, is the barbed wire baseball bat that Negan uses for pernicious means.
I wasn't doing a Santa memoir tour right now. The words I've had for them is, I was doing it 20 years ago. 22 years ago. A little nod would be a nice thing. Just a little asterisk. Maybe I could show up on an episode. And the only reason I'm not suing you right now is because I didn't invent it. Like, I borrowed it from Terry Funk, who borrowed it from somebody else. I believe I popularized it.
I was going to say, I feel like, you're most commonly thought of as the person who made it popular.
Yeah, I think I popularized it.
Yeah.
A nod would be nice. It's really nice that that's part of popular culture, and I think anyone who's been following their stuff is like, that's a Mick Foley tribute. So no, it doesn't. My kids want me to sue a famous rapper because he started Cactus Jack Records, and I'm saying, and this is on the record. It's a compliment. You know what I mean? I believe he's a fan. It's a compliment. I would not even think about pursuing. To me that's silly. So yes, I'm glad they're using it. A nod somewhere would be nice.
Right.
And
Negan comes in wearing a Mankind T-shirt, maybe,
possibly.
Yeah.
Maybe a Foley did it first T-shirt, just like the way Adrian made Rocky the Rocky Win shirt. Doesn't have to be fancy. Just go down, have the letters ironed on. Foley did it first. So thanks for the consideration.
So here's one more, because a lot of wrestlers have been doing this, or people have worked in the business. This is from Derek in Malden, Massachusetts. But would you ever start a podcast?
I've had that opportunity several times. I go back and forth on it. It's a crowded field. I do believe I have something to say. I'm still thinking about it. I have offers, standing offers, and I might. One thing I have not figured out to do in 32 years is how to make a living without leaving home and traveling. And man, it was hard when I was the GM and I needed my hip and knee replaced. Really difficult just getting around. And thankfully, I had those operations, and I'm having more trouble than ever because it's only a month out. But yeah, it would be nice to have a little stream without leaving home all the time. And I do think I address questions that fans have, and I believe I have something to offer. Yeah. So it's a possibility.
Speaking of, on that note, as Mick mentioned, he just in the past about 6 months, he has had both his hip replaced and recently his knee replaced. And to thank him for that, we're sending him on a cross-country book tour. So, so everyone who goes out to Mick's signings, you need to be especially thankful of the fact that he is literally flying his rebuilt body around for your pleasure. So
yeah, I believe you could describe this as being ambitious.
Yeah.
The doctor is like,
and this is true. I think there were actually a couple of times where we were talking, and this is maybe the first time in history as a publisher has told his author maybe we shouldn't do this many signings because I was actually legitimately worried that knowing Mick was having these operations that I didn't want to run you into the ground. I didn't want to be that guy who finally killed Mick Foley.
And I went from saying the pitch I gave, I may have said this at the front, forgive me if I did, was like, we didn't talk about, we talked about off air, that how this project came to be is I was writing a book, and originally I'd asked WWE if they might be interested, and they were, and then I realized, wait a second, this is a G-rated book for adults. This is not a book that I want 8 and 9-year-olds looking at. There's no suggestive material in it. There's not a single bad word, but it's not a book that I want children reading.
You go into some pretty serious things, especially as how it relates to.
Well, I'm talking more about the magic.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. So I just said, I thought to myself, I probably shouldn't be marketing it with a company with such a large, with such a large base of children in that age. So I just explained that, and there was no hard feelings, and I was intent on self-publishing it. And it was, I'd mentioned Stephanie McMahon. She wrote a beautiful foreword. Yeah, wow, did she do a great job on the foreword? And she felt like it was a story that people should hear. Mm-hmm. And between her encouragement and then reaching out to Jason, Jason had said something on his Twitter account responded to a question of who was most interesting person or his favorite interview. He said, no question, at Real Mick Foley. So I hadn't talked to Jason in years. I clicked on his profile and I saw, publisher, Polish Books, but they do mostly fiction.
Right.
So here's the hard sell. This is me hard selling my project. I know you don't do nonfiction, but you know anyone who might be interested in a very small print run with almost no publicity? And now we're doing publicity. But one of the goals I have is like, this book really means a lot to me. I don't expect it. I mean, it proved me wrong and make it a bestseller. I don't expect it. Like I don't really care how many it sells. It's just about the process and the journey I was on. But I was convinced that there might be a wider audience for it.
Well, I think, what you said with Stephanie is very true. And when I read the manuscript, I was thinking, I felt it was different from the other memoirs that you've written.
Yeah.
It was, and not that your other books weren't personal, but this was so personal. I just felt that there were so many people out there that like your life story, and this is such a big part of that there could be a wider audience. And I'm thrilled that you're
Like my suggestion would be,
Yeah.
if someone's a fan and they're genuinely intrigued by my love of Christmas, take a chance on it. If you're someone who doesn't, it's not going to turn you into a Christmas. I don't think. It's more important to me that the people who want to read it, take a look at it.
And I think for people that one of the things that I think touched me the most is you talk about you go from wrestling or appearing in front of tens of thousands of people and have the satisfaction of talking to one children alone in a room.
It'd be one child.
One child alone.
Work on the plurals there.
I'm not an editor or anything. But how spreading the Christmas spirit to one child can be as satisfying as appearing in front of tens of thousands of people. And I think that to me, that's the Christmas spirit. So that's
I don't want to give away the ending or the lesson learned.
Right.
But I went from being just distraught over not being on Raw in 2013. Like in my head, I was like, no, I'm the WWE Santa. I appear in front of millions of people, thousands live, millions on TV, and then the next year rolled around, and I did get the call. The 203 area code came in. I did perk up, and they asked me if I'd be at Raw, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't. And they said, can we ask why, in case Mr. McMahon wants to know? And I said, yeah, I promised my children I'd be home. And so on the same night where Ho Hogan appeared in front of millions worldwide, I was talking to 8 children in a foster home, and there was not a moment where I thought I made the wrong decision. So a year later, we're driving home after this amazing visit, and you get the text from the family, and it's just one of those things like, this is something we'll never forget. And I tell my son Huey, who's my elf, I said, I feel like I just had a pay-per-view match. And he goes, but there were only 3 people there. I said, nah, man, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So it's about creating something magical and special. And so this book this process, this journey, was a good one where I learned a lot.
Yeah. On that note, I think this is a good question for that. This is from Kenny in Painesville, Ohio, and Kenny asks, how did your Christmas obsession start?
Well, I loved Christmas, like most kids did. I believe it had something to do with my parents taking me to Santa's Village in Jefferson, New Hampshire when I was 3 and 4. And there was a very historic photo of me at Santa's Village as a 4-year-old with Santa. And then I mentioned that we tried to, prolong the joy of Christmas, extend it as far as possible, talk about these events. The trip to Santa's Village, so that when I moved back to New York, after mistakenly thinking I would be the commissioner for years, so you retire in Florida, move to New York, after 3 months I would never be the commissioner again. But the first thing I did in that house that needed so much repair, most people go to the kitchen or the bathroom, I'm like, I want a Christmas room. So I just wanted something where I could be that would remind me of, something cool all year round. And I do address, there are people like, well, they wonder about that type of thing. Let me see if I can find this. Keep talking while I try. I guess I need to do a better job of...
I think what we'll do is Mick will read a passage, and then we're going to do a bit of a quick fire Q&A session where we're going to ask Mick 22 questions in 2 minutes and give him a chance to answer some pretty fun questions.
All right. I'm going to get to you any second now. Maybe a few more seconds than any second. I can't find it.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
So I think what we'll do is we'll do the.
That's live TV for you. That's what happens.
We'll do these are 22 questions, and Mick will give quick fire answers to them. So let's start out. Who inspires you the most?
Inspires me the most. I can't go with like a religious. You can't go with Jesus right here. We're looking for a person who inspires me. Let's get back to that.
Okay.
If I say John Cena, people will turn off this thing en masse.
We'll skip to that. Okay. If you could trade places with one person, who would it be?
I don't have rapid fire answers to these things.
You can answer them deep and philosophical if need be.
Deep and philosophical.
Yeah.
I could trade places with one person. Third question.
Okay.
Who
makes you laugh the most?
Who makes me laugh the most? Larry David makes me cringe laugh the most. Laughing while cringing. Yeah, I think some of that stuff is really good. Yeah. We'll go with Larry David.
Okay. Who is the last person you called or texted? And Nate from New Jersey doesn't count.
Let me see. Last person I called. Let me see the last text I sent. It was a friend from college.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a friend from college who did the documentary with me about Dominic DeNucci's wrestling school. And the little backstory there is I bring her, a very good friend from Cortland, New York, to Pittsburgh. And I thought $40 was too much to ask for a motel. And so I made her sleep in the car, which seemed like the gentlemanly thing to do. So we got home after this thing, and she didn't talk to me for a week. And I finally went over and I said, "Did I do something wrong?" And she went, "You made me sleep in a car, Mickey. I slept in a car." I try to learn from my mistakes. So that would be Deb Christensen.
Okay.
Well, no, and there's a Jeremy Borash thing, and there is a WWE message. 203 area code. Not at liberty to talk about that right now, though.
Ooh. Okay, who is your favorite filmmaker or director?
Oh man, favorite filmmaker or director. I think. I mean, you can't go wrong with Scorsese.
Yeah.
Right? You can't go wrong with Scorsese. I'm trying to think of somebody else whose style I like Ron Howard. I think does a tremendous job telling stories. I'll have to do really research to find out the movies I love the most and like the common thread that they had there. Those are two pretty good answers, I think.
I think definitely. What's the last book you read?
I'm reading Jim Ross's Slobberknocker on the tales of Chris Jericho's No is a four-letter word.
Keeping the family. Okay.
And I alternate between that and Santaology by Stephen Gilliam.
Oh yeah, which you talk about.
Yeah,
in the book.
I talk about the book. Yeah, he really opened my eyes to the idea of visual effects. So that I have a box of fairy dust. It's just magical, and there's this scene. When I was at the Children's Hospital Pittsburgh, and they told me this little girl's in quarantine. She can't see anybody. You can only say hello from the doorway. So I had a conversation from the doorway, and I said, "Would you like?" I'd give her the backstory. Would you like to see want me to open the box? And she went like this, and I open it up, and it's all illuminated. And I'll never. She just looked here. There's a little girl, doesn't have family there, can't see anyone. She goes, "That's awesome." And I walked outside the room, and I had to compose myself. And the WWE personnel woman who had come in there said, are you all right? I said, I just feel so fortunate to be in a place where I can spread that type of joy. Like for that 1 month out of the year, like I am John Cena. Like, you know, that's the kind of power that that red suit wields, you know, without all the working out. So
What's one thing that you need to have in your fridge at all times?
hold on a second. Who directed The Green Mile? Danabout, Frank
Darabont?
Darabont.
And he was one of the creators of the Walking Dead show.
Was he really?
He was, yeah. There's no Lucille in the Green Mile.
Because there is a scene in The Green Mile gets me every time. And I had a chance to talk with Michael Clark Duncan about it. Wow. You know, there's actually, I remember I was talking to Al Snow about this movie and how much I loved it. He said, you met him? And I said, how could I forget him? And so there's a scene in one, I think it's in For All Mankind, where I just go over, I randomly hug this massive human being, Michael Clark Duncan, but after Percy, the little no good, the guard, he crushes Dell's mouse, you know, and you actually hear the bone, spine, and then that voice say, "Bring him to me, boss." Yeah. And it starts getting this, you know, I start getting the forehead, you know, going up here, the tingle, and then he puts that mouse in his hand, and it starts glowing, and then here comes the music and the lights, and the big key is they do a cutaway reaction shot to David Morse, who's an incredible actor, and he gives a GC. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, and man, it connects with me every time. So I'll go with Frank Darabont.
That's a good movie.
There you go.
Good call.
There you go.
So what's one thing you need to have in your fridge at all times?
I don't necessarily refrigerate my apples, but I have to have apples. I am an
That's a very healthy choice.
Foley admits to apple haul. And but they need to be, I don't mean to be all like artsy, but I like them organic just because they taste so much better. Because apples have a thin skin. It's not like an orange where they can put battery acid and you just peel the thing, you're all right. Apples got thin skin, you wash it good. Yeah, I'll eat 3 or 4 a day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot. What's your favorite pastime?
Scrapbooking. So the thing I was trying to find in here was a little article where I said I was making some great scrapbook pages of Santa's visit to our house, 2012. I said, okay, for all you guys out there, you know, who are fishermen and hunters and ride muscle cars and want to question my guy credentials, I've got some VHS tapes of me suffering greatly in Japan, tied up in barbed wire, landing on explosions. So while you're watching that, I'll be over here, scrapbooking. Yeah, I do. I still love the idea of telling stories, whether it's in the ring, which I'm really not capable of doing anymore, although we did somewhat, you know, as a general manager. And I think Stephanie and I told a nice story on our way out. But just through the pictures, the photos, and the stories they tell. And what's nice now, and honestly, part of the reason I wrote the book, is so that I could fill in some of the blanks with passages in the book, so that when it's 50, 60 years down the line, it's not just photos, they're photos with stories.
What is your dream car?
I remember when Cena and a couple of guys were in the back of the bus on a rare overseas tour I was on, and they were talking muscle cars. And they're like, "Hey, Vic, what do you drive?" I was like, 2002 Chevy Venture. You probably don't need to be part of that conversation. So I went to, Old Russ has bit the dust, right? My kids won't let me auction it off, even if they're wrestlers for Puerto Rico auction. They're like, no, it's not your responsibility to help everyone, which is not the message I'm trying to pass on as a father. But I went and I was at the car dealer, and I texted my wife, I said, just so you know, I'm getting a minivan. And she said, oh my God, no. And then I had pointed out some things I'd done for her recently. She said, okay, just as long as it's not red. And I went, oh, it's red. It's very red. And then I slapped the Santa Patrol magnet on there on the side, you know, so that there's no question that I have, you know, legal jurisdiction from the big guy himself. So yeah, I don't have a dream car. I'm driving it as far as I'm concerned.
A red Santa van.
Yeah, it's a red Santa van.
What is your and you can't say apples? What is your secret snack?
Secret snack? It's the RX bar. They have 4 ingredients. It says two dates, 3 egg whites, 6 cashews, no BS. And a lot of you know that I was considerably heftier, a year and a half ago. And if you find that there's some things you like that are nutritious, they could really help you out. The problem I'm encountering now is, I'm not trying to exaggerate this knee pain, but it hurts. It prevents you from sleeping. And apparently your brain will make deals with your body when it's 4 a.m. and you convince yourself that the cinnamon and the cinnamon toast crunch is a very valuable, well, the milk, God, you need strong bones, like 4 bowls of cereal, that's good. So I have been fighting these late night cravings and failing, and I was just so lucky I was in a hotel that didn't have a vending machine, because when I couldn't sleep last night, I went on the rampage and there was nothing there. Nothing there. So I had a protein bar, so there you go.
Okay. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Yeah, 10 years. I hope to be continuing to do this work that I do. I'm really fortunate that...
You mean in terms of Santa work?
Yeah, I'm really fortunate that I can, make my own schedule, that I can... this year, the entire month of December, I'm able to take off. So I load up with all these great causes and special visits. I'm never in a position where I'm, at a party and someone's bossing me around, because I've been there with the communions and the birthday parties and the bar mitzvahs. And most of the time, people are very nice, but there are a few times they make it really clear you're working for them, and you're going to listen to them. And so if I could take myself out of the environment and be like, "Hey, dude, I'm a volunteer." Like, well, first of all, as Santa, I wouldn't say, "Hey, dude." I go, "Oh, hey, dude." I love doing that stuff, and I don't know what I'll be doing. Like, I imagine in some way I'm like tied to the hip with wrestling, in some way. It's nice that I did just get a call for something really interesting from WWE.
That's breaking news.
Breaking news.
Live signing.
Breaking news. Foley gets interesting text message. But hopefully I'm home a lot, and doing something that I love.
Good answer. What item would you love to get your hands on if it went up for auction?
Can I plug my Wrestlers for Puerto Rico auction here?
Yeah, absolutely. This is your live signing.
It was originally Foley for Puerto Rico, and then I started having other people in the business reaching out, saying, like, Lindsay Dorado's he's from PR. He makes his own tights. He's a great cruiserweight for WWE. He asked if he could donate that. Donovan Dijak, who's a new sign for NXT, but has been a great independent wrestler. Like, never seen a bad match. He wanted to donate something. A few of the women, especially women, with Puerto Rican ancestry, and so I said, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to take a little more time, make it a little more intricate, and we're going to make this hashtag Wrestlers for Puerto Rico." So we're going to go live after Raw on October 23rd. And every day I'm getting cool stuff, like Becky Lynch just sent something. Miss Charlotte just sent something. Something showed up from Jim Ross and James Ellsworth and Lillian Garcia and Natalia. So we probably have about 20 people participating.
That's great.
What would I like to grab at auction? I go back, just read into this what you will. I didn't know, sleeping has been a problem for me. I didn't know that Ambien had this sleepwalking thing, right? So I'm under orders to never take Ambien again after my son apparently watched me eat like 7 or 8 courses in my sleep without ever acknowledging it. So I told my dad, "No, you can never, ever take that again." But one of the things that I did is I just learned to use the internet, and I was going on eBay and making purchases in my sleep, and I was buying the books my mother used to read to me when I was a child. So there's some deep, there's some deep stuff in there. But I don't particularly like. I don't think I need anything. Like I don't. I even when my kids say, "What do you want for Christmas?" I just make me something, because like I don't know. I don't making something. You're putting your time and thought in. It's like the Christmas morning. Go, isn't this beautiful? And then seeing it on your American Express bill. It's not quite the same thing. It's not quite the same thing. So I just like people to make me something.
What is your biggest pet peeve?
That guy in The Walking Dead. No, that's not really a pet peeve. I shouldn't say this, but I worked really hard, on my one man show. And I was talking with a Canadian comic yesterday, Michelle Shaughnessy, and she was in the crowd. And when I did my panel, and I talked about there are nights when you just wish a hole would open up in the stage, you can crawl in there. And so it's a little bit of a pet peeve that so many wrestlers get booked for Q&As, which doesn't show any commitment. Like I know it's what fans want, but I like people to know that when I get up there, it's something I've worked on and failed at and learned from and try every night to make better. I guess it'd be along a pet peeve of a guy who doesn't write a book and claims he did.
Right.
So, which in school is known as cheating. Like you get thrown out of school, you get suspended for cheating and plagiarizing, and here you get, you get to brag about it.
Okay. What is your
That was the ugly part of me rearing my head, but it does bother me a little bit. I just think people should know what it's like to fail monumentally. You certainly don't get in the ring and become a superstar without failing on grand levels, and I just think people should know what it's like to fail up there, and so they can better appreciate not failing.
Okay. What's your favorite food?
I kind of like it all, I do. I do like it all. And,
Everything is a good answer.
Everything's a good answer. I like the ethnic. I haven't found an ethnic cuisine that I do not like. When I moved down south, though, as soon as I got to like D.C., my mouth would start salivating over the New York pizza. And so somebody said that like. The Rock and I were doing a lot of work for WWE publicity-wise in '99. They said the major difference between me and The Rock was The Rock wanted to have the best steak in town, and I wanted 2 slices of pizza. A pizza. I believe as part of this promotional tour, I'm going on a pizza tasting.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Later today.
I'm all in there. Later today.
Barstool Sports. Their pizza review.
Pizza review. Yeah. So those are my favorites. But I do have the sweet tooth.
Yeah.
I know I claimed it was Vinny who had the sweet tooth when Yurple visited the hospital room. By the way, I just want to mention Wrestlers Puerto Rico. The Rock is in.
Oh, hey. Is that breaking news?
Breaking news.
Breaking news. Hey.
The Rock is in. I just have to find the right thing. I don't know whether it should be an original, like a piece of artwork they signs, but one of the things I'm thinking of, This Is Your Life. It's Rock, me, and Yurple. And you could have some stuff that Rock has signed. Every once in a while you see something I've signed with The Rock, but there is no Rock, me, Yurple.
That's like getting a baseball signed by like Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays, and Duke Snyder.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen very much.
Okay, what's the last movie you saw in theaters?
In theaters. Hold on. I know there's one after this. Let me just say, Wonder Woman was one of the great cinematic experiences I've ever had. For anyone who reads this book and knows, there's a funny line in here where my son, Huey, he sees me working on my Santa show. And he said, Dad, how much are you charging for that? I said, well, I'm not charging. How can you not charge? You're Mick Foley. So first of all, I'm not doing the show as Mick Foley. Like, I'm Santa. And second of all, like, no one knows what storytelling with Santa is. They think I'm probably just going to read. He goes, but still, you're putting so much work into it. You're spending money. You're buying props. He said, I'll tell you, 10 few years from now, if word gets around, I have a show, maybe that. But for now, there's no admission. He goes, oh, Dad, you make so many mistakes. And I brought my kids to my show and didn't have a PR system. The library is spread out. So there are people everywhere, people who can't hear, and then I make the mistake of start taking questions from the audience. And this one girl stands up and goes, yes, I saw Real Santa last year. And Real Santa, and she must have said Real Santa 10 times. And every time she's saying Real Santa, what she's saying subliminally is, you're not the real Santa.
Right.
And I'm nodding my head, but what I'm thinking to myself is I'm getting like 1995 ECW Cactus Jack promos in my head. And what I really want to say is, listen, kid, you show me a picture of that Real Santa, and I'll show you your old man in a $20 Party City outfit. I grow this beard for 11 months. You know, I had such a sinking feeling. I took all the photos, and people thought it went okay, but I'm driving home, and I've got three of my children with me, Noel, Mickey, and Huey. Not a word. You know, in the book I said I think the Atlanta Falcons bus ride home had more joy in that car than I did. And about halfway home, he goes, well, Dad, you know, you were right. I went, what was I right about, buddy? He goes, you should not be charging admission for that show. So in the theater, Wonder Woman. If you haven't seen it, you need to. Yeah. There's a scene where she bursts out of the trench in World War I, right? And it's like, to me, it's like the 14th round of the first Rocky, prolonged. It's like a sustained, and if Gal's watching, you know, and I know, no, I don't think she's a fan, but it moved me. And I'm there, I'm in the moment, I'm so absorbed, and all of a sudden, we're in a crowded theater, and I hear my son going, Dad, are you crying? I don't think so. It looks to me like you're crying. Like, he won't leave me alone. Yeah, but that was amazing. Yeah, that was an amazing movie-going experience.
Okay, this one's really serious. What color is your toothbrush?
You know what we don't do a good job writing our names. I don't know if the Foley kids know that I just randomly pick out a toothbrush, not knowing if it's mine or not. And I forever show up.
I hope they're learning that right now, because you're gonna have some questions answered.
I'm forever showing up at the hotels. Going, by the way, do you have the little travel toothbrush kit? And there was one. It was someone's book where they mentioned that WWE had us doing publicity. We cover our own charges when we're doing our own thing. Publicity, WWE puts you up. Very nice. And I did find out this is the first time I'm doing the tour with a smaller publisher. Maybe the hotels are not quite as nice as the ones. Maybe it wasn't the most pleasant experience. Shoes stayed on.
Oh,
yeah. So, no, I'm not blaming you, but it was the worst hotel I've stayed in many years, Jason.
Whoa.
So.
Oh, man.
It's all going down live. So what was the question? I'm so blinded by my rage right now. What was the question?
What color is your toothbrush?
Oh, yeah. So I just generally find one that works. And once in a while, I'll go into the memorabilia box and I'll take out the Mankind toothbrush. What better way to get children excited about their dental health than with a toothbrush of a guy known for missing teeth, right?
Okay. Do you have any hidden talents?
I'm going to show you one right here, okay? So there. Maybe we can do it here. See, while you guys are out there in the monster trucks, four-wheel drives, hunting, fishing, I do calligraphy. Isn't that nice?
That is hardcore. and I've seen him, and I've seen you do it too. Like longer. I was impressed.
Well, you know, it comes down to I had the amazing Jill Thompson, who she's done two of my children's books, and done that iconic CM Punk T-shirt. You know, illustration of CM Punk that was sold so well. And I saw some generic Santa stationery, and I said, Jill, do you think you could make this look more like me? And she's like, I can do much better than this. She came with this whole theme, but it's Santa holding a fountain pen. So you can't put that in a computer, you know. It just so I wrote the ceremonial first letter to my children. They couldn't understand my writing, so took the opportunity when during my recovery from the hip replacement to really work on that handwriting.
Yeah.
Ordered a $5 book, Calligraphy for Children, and then just started saying like, what should Santa's handwriting look like? And it's so what I do is. What I'm going to do at the beginning of every signing, since I'd mentioned it's not a signing for children, but there's going to be children there. I have this beautiful letter from Santa to me. Let's see if we can break it out. You want to go? Slide it over here, and I'll show it to you as we're talking. And what I'll do is I'll read this letter from Santa to me, and I think if you have an 8 or 9-year-old on the border, it's going to go a long way. You ready for this? Ooh, pretty, right? And then explain, it's just Santa asking me, just admitting he can't be everywhere at all times. He needs a little help on the ground. And if knows about my love for Christmas, and from this moment on, should you accept my heartfelt offer, you will be known by me, the elves, and Mrs. C as Santa Mick. So that's a hobby of mine. So. Not a cool, like, rugged hobby. But again, did I mention I've got some mid-90s tapes of me being blown up in Japan? Okay.
Okay, let's, last few. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Oh, I'm the night owl, the worst. Almost all the writing I've done has been done at night. Every good idea I've had in wrestling, every promo, all the time at night. As a matter of fact, the thing I missed most about the business when I left it was those late night drives. I loved it. I loved it.
What's the last gift you gave or received?
I gave a beautiful Santa coin to a family that I thought needed a little extra attention. They lost their dad, and I was holding it. I was going to give it to somebody here in the city. And then I was like, I only had one. It's beautiful, custom, and it's something I give out to children in hospitals. It's a little expensive, so I can be generous when I'm meeting like 20 kids at a time,
right? But
not like when I do Christmas Magic and you meet 200 or 300 kids at a time. So it was a Santa coin, a wishing coin.
Where do you want to go that you've never been?
I always wanted to perform like on a Native American
reservation.
But yeah, I never had the chance. I never had the chance to do that. Country-wise, I texted you and I said, like, man, you can learn a lot by talking to cab drivers in New York City. All I have to say is, excuse me, sir, where are you from? And most people are really open, and then I take it all in, and so it's like, this gentleman was from Bangladesh, and formerly known as Kampuchea, and told me about moving his family to New York. It was a nice story. Like, I gave him a pretty nice tip for being that way. Yeah. Where haven't I been? I'd like to go to Alaska. It's the only state in the United States where I have not been. I hear it's beautiful there, and really the thing that's missing in my life is the cruise of Jericho. I've always wanted to go on a cruise with Chris Jericho. I've never wanted to watch the Al Pacino movie Cruising with Chris Jericho, just to make that clear.
It's a very different movie.
Very different movie. What shocked me is I saw it on a cruise. Well, I guess somebody must not have realized what the movie was about,
right.
And that makes perfect sense. Why not watch Cruising on a cruise? And I didn't realize that apparently there's a slight homoeroticism in professional wrestling. Like, I was like, perfect looking, hairless men, and I was like the antithesis of everything. Like, this guy Brendan Burns used to say, Mick is the answer to every, critic. It's a homoerotic. Mick Foley. Wrestlers a bunch of idiots. Mick Foley. They're all muscle bag guys. Mick Foley. But in that movie, there was a guy finding great pleasure reading the old black and white wrestling magazines. I was like, never even crossed my mind. Never even crossed. So anyway, that just went off on an ugly way. There's none of that in St. Mick, believe me. I better start signing.
On that note, I think we need to, we're just out of time, so we want to wrap this up. Mick will be signing all of these books and a whole lot more books, and you can get your copy at stmickbook.com. We'll post the links everywhere, Facebook, Twitter, everything. So get your copy. And
may I mention, Jason, I donated the advance for both the writing and the audio to children's charities, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope the book's a big success. I didn't write it with the idea that it would be, so if I don't make any money at all, I don't mind. It's just important to me that people enjoy it, you know, and I'm very happy with it. And thank you for tuning in and listening. I'm sincerely sorry about the direction the conversation went.
I did like how we ended on Al Pacino and Cruisin'. That was where we wanted to end up.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you can also, Mick will be doing supporting the book with a tour, so you can go onto his website and find out where he'll be appearing. And I hope you'll see Mick and buy the book and hear some more great stories.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us.
And have a nice day.